Okay, hi everyone. So we will be doing today Young Talents episode 2 with Rimini Reed. So I'm a little bit excited because my English is not that good, but we will be doing a conversation with Rimini Reed. Uh, she's a pianist and she lives in UK. So I really hope this conversation will be amazing because she's a really pretty person. She's a really great pianist, and she has a lot of things to tell us about her piano journey. So yeah, okay. So I have to tell you guys about something. So this week we can make only this program. I couldn't arrange the genç yetenekler or ustalarla söyleşi because about the earthquake in Turkey. All of my guests are canceling their programs, and this is really annoying because we have to keep on. We have to keep going about our jobs, our programs, our lives. And I really don't find quite good to give up. Of course, it was a really sad thing about earthquake. Thousands of people lost their lives, their homes, their families. We can't say, okay, that's it. I give up of everything forever. So whatever, it's my opinion. So I'm sorry, but I couldn't arrange the program for this week. But we will be doing the second episode of Young Talents with Rimini. So long story short, I have to invite her to my program. I hope you will all like it. Okay. Okay, where are you, Rimini? Yep, there you are. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hope it's well.
Hope it's what? You hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, can you?
Yes. Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for like arranging everything.
Oh, that's okay. I really appreciate to see you here. So welcome again, and thank you so much for accepting my offer to you.
No. Awesome. It's my pleasure.
I actually arranging these programs like 1 or 2 weeks later because about everything, about the questions, about the photographs, about the questions, but I couldn't do it because my guests canceled their programs just today. About you hear the earthquake in Turkey, so everyone is so upset and they really don't know what to do. So that was a huge shocking news for me because I was really waiting for this weekend to make a program, but she said like I will not do it because I'm really upset about the earthquake and I cannot talk at music or whatever it is. So I'm sorry because it's really happened so fast for me, for you. So
Yeah, no, it's understandable that they wouldn't want to talk about it. People obviously have lost their lives and things, but as you said, like you've got to keep on going. You've got to keep talking about it. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because we have to do it because we can't live like forever. We have to make conversations. We have to find a goal to keep on, sometimes like that. So, anyways, thank you for coming here. I'm really happy to see you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so what are you doing these days? How are your days going? What are you doing?
So I study at the University of Northampton. So Northampton is like a small town in England. It's in perspective, it's near London, kind of. It's like an hour away from London. But it's a very nice university. It's a huge university. They have two music courses. They do one where it's like the production, so making music with technology and things like that. And then they have the performance kind of side. So it's called popular music, which is what I study. So we do the performance, we do theory, just everything. And, you know, we've got singers on the course, we've got piano players, we've got people that play guitars, the drums, things like that. So I have lectures from Monday to Thursday. So Fridays are really my only day off during the week. But Monday to Thursday, every day we have something different, whether that's performance or talking about theory and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really do have to fit in practice throughout like the lectures and the classes. But obviously I leave that for the evenings or the mornings before the classes. So
Yeah, I understand. So this is a really good coincidence for us too, you know, the Thursday thing.
yeah. I mean, Thursdays are actually my longest days. So we start at 9 o'clock in the morning and then we finish at 6, as I said to you before. So they're really long days on Thursday. So yeah, it's good that we can.
Yeah. Yeah, so you must be really, really, really tired, right, today?
I'm okay. I've had a lot of coffee, so
So the road is like challenging, right? It's about 1 hour road. You go, come, it's like 2 hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
As in to university.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I live in Northampton, which obviously I'm at Northampton University. So my house is very, very close to the university. But there's other people on my course that are from hours and hours away, which they come to here. They have their recording here. But yeah, I'm very lucky to come to the university being really close as well. So I can come and use the rooms more often than other people can because I'm very close and I drive as well, so I can come, you know, whenever I want really.
oh, you can drive. Oh,
Yeah,
that's real cool.
so it makes it a lot easier when I just, you know, when I want to practice at 8 o'clock at night and I can just come in here and there's no one here. So
Yeah, okay, that's really cool. I mean, as you, of course, your colleagues, they have a really challenging because, you know, you spending your hours in the roads, you actually do nothing. Maybe you can listen music or read books, but you know, it's really too much hours. I don't know. But for you, it's really good because you know you can drive, you can practice what time do you want, and yeah, that's really cool.
yeah, I mean, I can. Yeah, it is a lot of work, but when you enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work. So yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you practicing these days at piano?
So for for my course, it's a lot of like pop music and jazz music, and we kind of do a lot of that sort of thing. But personally, I work on a lot of classical music, obviously, so
Yeah.
Chopin and Beethoven, things like that. But for university, it's more like the jazz piano. So I'm the pianist for my course, as in like I do the accompaniment. So
Yeah.
when the singer's singing, I'll play for them. But we have to, for our performances, we have to have a solo performance and then we have to do a group performance as well. So the solo performance is when I can kind of do my own thing. So I did like a classical piece for my solo performance a few months ago. So that's when we can have a bit more freedom with it. But yeah, that's normally what I get up to with the course. But then obviously when I'm on my own, I can practice whatever I want really.
You into jazz music?
Yeah, so not as much as classical music, but the course has kind of made me do a lot more jazz. And I got a new piano teacher as well, and he's kind of
Yeah.
putting jazz onto me recently and making me expand like what I play. So yeah, I'm kind of learning new genres as I go along.
So the piano is like you said, you are playing with another solist, right? A singer maybe, or another instrument players, like maybe cello maybe, or I mean you know better what instruments are using in jazz music mostly.
So there is, well, I play the flute as well, so sometimes I will do the flute for the jazz sort of bits, but we have like bass players, so like guitar bass players and drums. So it's kind of more of like a pop music approach more than a classical music
Yeah,
approach for the jazz. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of singers on our course. I think we've got about 90% singers and 10% instrument players. So
yeah, I understand. Maybe sometimes clarinet could be useful,
yeah.
but you know, I know the clarinet of Gershwin. You know, he wrote Rhapsody in Blue, and his opening with clarinet. Uh, it's a really good piece, by the way. It's really cool. I I'm sure you heard of it, right?
Yeah, it's very very difficult, especially with the bits of the solo bit at the start where it like does the big bend, and yeah, it sounds very very difficult.
It's like a piano concerto when you play with concerto, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah. So Gershwin has a piano concerto though, but his Rhapsody in Blue is like a concerto because it's really difficult as techniques. You know, you are going to use octaves or arpeggios extremely fast. You know, this is a jazz, so it's like how can I say improvisation
yeah,
in
yeah,
in piano. I really think that improvisation is extremely important to make any piece, compose any piece.
yeah,
You know, the Chopin is writing his pieces like improvisation, you know, like Bach. He was writing his nocturnes or waltzes like improvisation. And I know that Chopin has not like Liszt, you know, he is not a concert pianist. He attended to like 30 concerts in his lifetime, but Liszt was giving 30 concerts in 1 month, you know. And I read a book about Chopin, and it was saying Chopin does not play exactly the same in different concerts. He will always change the music. He always adds some particulations or some sparkles in his music. You know, he improvised it. So it's really
yeah.
important for me.
And he really didn't like performing at all. Like he would like obviously he wouldn't perform with lights. He would try and turn out all the lights. He wouldn't perform to many people at all. It would be people that he knew and very small
Yeah,
concerts. And he said I read one of his letters and he said that he always feels nervous whenever he plays. Like it's weird because he was such a good pianist and composer, but didn't want to share it with anyone. So
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
He's a virtuoso. You know, he's a good pianist, and he's a virtuoso. You know, his etudes, his ballades, or his scherzos, they're extremely difficult pieces, or his piano concertos. You know, in the cello sonata of Chopin, the piano part is so difficult that you can say it's a piano sonata but with cello. You know, it's not a cello sonata. It's a piano sonata but with cello.
Mhm. Yeah, there's the piano. The piano always takes the center and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, cello has not the center of the music. It's like piano is so dominant, you know, because he's a pianist. He you know dedicated his life to the keys of piano. He always lived for it, so I can understand why Chopin did this.
Yeah, no. Like he didn't write. He only wrote two piano concertos, isn't that?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
wrote two. He wasn't obviously very fond of composing for strings or orchestras and things like that. But obviously, what he did write with orchestras was amazing. So he probably should have written more for orchestra and things like that. But yeah, maybe he was just too fond of the piano.
And that's really interesting because when he wrote his by the way, the first concerto is not in E minor. It just Chopin gave the opus number later for the F minor concerto. So actually, the second concerto, which is in F minor, composed too much earlier for the first concerto. So the Chopin wrote the first concerto in F minor. He was in like 19 or some kind of like that. So you're 18, I'm 18, and he was 19 and wrote that concerto for the piano. So this is really mind blowing. But then he wrote the second concerto when he was 12 or not 12, 20 or 21. So then he just gave up on the orchestral music. He just wrote for the piano and piano more. I wish he lived longer because he died in 39.
Yeah, very, very young. But obviously, a lot of composers back then, well, a lot of people back then even they didn't live long anyway. But it is a shame because he would have written so much more amazing music, and he wrote so much anyway during his short life.
Yeah.
But he would have written more if he obviously lived longer. But yeah, it is a shame. But the music that we do have of him is amazing. So
Liszt was lucky, right, to live that long life.
Mhm.
He died in his 70s, I think.
Yeah. But I don't know how much music Liszt wrote in comparison to Chopin. I'm not sure. Did he write more or?
Yeah, of course he write more because he he just did not write. He did not compose music to itself. He was an amazing arranger. He arranged all of Beethoven's symphonies to the piano. He composed arrangements of Rachmaninoff pieces or the Ravels or the Bachs even because Bach make the pieces for the harpsichord, not the piano. We
Mhm.
are playing his music in the piano, but he did not write it for piano because the piano wasn't there in his lifetime. So let's take the pieces and arrange for the piano. Like he is an amazing arranger as a composer, of course, and he was a really great virtuoso. Like he was a showman
Yeah,
about in the 19th century, right?
yeah, that is very, very true. Yeah, even like the Etudes by Liszt, like in absolutely insane.
I think they're not etudes, because you have to play extremely good for the play his etudes. So I don't know why these are called etudes. I really don't know because it's not like etudes. Of course, they are practicing amazing techniques, but if you can play these etudes of Liszt, then you really come to somewhere. You can play the piano amazingly.
Mhm.
I think like that. I mean, you
Yeah.
played any pieces of his?
Any of Liszt's pieces?
Yeah,
I not that I remember how to play. I played his, the Six
mm.
Constellations. I played number 3. I think it's D flat major. I
D
think.
flat major, right?
Yeah. I tried to learn that like last year. They're so difficult. This is the problem. It just takes it takes a lot of determination, and I had other things going on, so I didn't put my all into that piece. But
Yeah.
I do like sight reading and played a few, not like in the whole piece, the whole detail, but I have played a few Liszt. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
Yeah.
difficult when you hear them and you think they sound easier than they are, and when you
Yes,
actually
of course.
start playing and you realize the technique and voicing is crazy. Yeah.
It has so much polyrhythm, right? And this is really confusing because like you said, if you heard the consolation or the Libestraums, the beginning, you might think like, okay, I can play this piece.
Yeah.
It's like piece of cake, but it's really not.
No, yeah,
It's really hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the polyrhythms, like you don't realize that they're there until you play them or until you read it, and you're like, wow, it is difficult. It does take a lot of time.
In jazz, that's more, in jazz music, it has more polyrhythm, and these polyrhythms are insane. You have to play 19 notes for the four notes in the left hand, like it, the blues scales, jazz scales. This is yeah, extremely hard to understand when you will play the notes in the right hand for the left hand.
Yeah,
you know
yeah. I have realized how difficult it is to play jazz music now that I've been
yeah, of course. So I by the way, I will going to ask your music career, but we are talking about composers, so I want to ask you that which composers do you like? I really think that you are a romantic person, so you like the romantic era more. But Chopin, Schubert, maybe, or the Liszt, Schumann, maybe. But I want to hear it from you. Which composers do you like the most, and which classical music era you into the most?
So yeah, obviously, as you said, I'm more into the kind of romantic era or late classical. I'd say late classical, like early romantic era. So people like obviously Chopin. He's my favorite composer. I probably know that. And then we've obviously got Schumann and all of his works for piano. I absolutely love as well. And we've spoken about Liszt. Liszt pieces are absolutely beautiful. Um, I think Schubert as well wrote a lot of amazing pieces for orchestra as well as piano. But I definitely say that I lean more towards the Romantic era than the classical era. I mean, I do love Beethoven and Bach and things like that. But I think it's so much nicer to play romantic era pieces. It feels a lot more like emotional. They use a lot more of the piano, if you know what I mean. You can feel it a bit more than when you're playing a classical. I still absolutely love, Beethoven and his works,
Yeah,
but a lot more of like Schumann and things like that. So I'd say definitely early romantic era, late classical. So yeah.
yeah. I think Beethoven is, you can't put Beethoven somewhere. You can't put him to romantic era. You can't put him classical era. Beethoven, he's the era itself. The
Yeah.
Beethoven's era.
Yeah.
Baroque era, classical era, Beethoven's era, and early romantic, late romantic, sort of kind
Yeah.
of like that. And so Beethoven is like a bridge to the classical era, to the romantic era, because he's a leader. I mean, he is really, I mean, how can I say this? He really thinks the music for the art. It's
Hmm.
not for the public. It's not for the religion or something like. But he was composing for the church, or for the Christians.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because he was a Catholic, and he was a really really sense of religion. Uh, and Mozart, he wrote musics for the you know kingdom, maybe. He was a kingdom composer. But the Beethoven is just
Yeah.
Beethoven. He wasn't into anything, anyone. Of course, he has requests to write his pieces, because he's a human too. So he must earn money to keep his life going. But he's the era itself. He himself, for me.
Yeah. Because when you think of classical music, you think of Beethoven, but then when you think of romantic music, you think Beethoven as well. So it just spans over the whole scale. So yeah, I do agree. It is his own era really, but I haven't I haven't really listened to much Beethoven over the years or played much Beethoven. Like recently, I've only just listened to like his piano concertos and things like that. I posted the fifth piano concerto um, the other week, me playing the second movement, and I didn't realize how like amazing they were until I listened to them properly. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. He was the first composer who used the choral music in symphony. In his Ninth Symphony, he uses the choral music, and some composer said about the Beethoven. Okay, I don't know his name, but he wrote 8 symphonies in his lifetime. He maybe he can move on to the ninth, to the 10th, maybe, or 11th, maybe, but he wrote this sentence to his final page of 8th symphony. The ninth, the number 9 is blessed by Beethoven. So he did not write the Ninth Symphony. Or another composer, Johannes Brahms, he did not write any symphony in 20 years because some friend of his wrote him to, okay, so why are you not composing any symphony? You can do it because you're amazing composer. And Brahms said, you don't know how is the hearing a giant's footsteps behind your back. He's talking about Beethoven, of course, because Beethoven wrote amazing symphonies, and you cannot dare to write any more symphonies because he's the top of this kind. He's the top of the symphonies. He's the father of the symphonies, and I really can understand why Brahms think like that. Of course, Brahms wrote 4 symphonies after that, but he really waited so long for it.
Yeah, they probably felt very what's the word, intimidated by him, and listening and reading what he wrote, they probably felt, oh, I can't do as good as that. So yeah, they just wrote nothing.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so whatever. Let's go to you. So, Rimini, how was your music journey started, and how was the process of being a musician?
So I started, I want to say I started when I was about 6 years old. So that was about 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago. I was 6 years old and I was bought a little, it looked a bit like this. It was like a Yamaha upright piano. And I was put into piano lessons with a private teacher, which I actually still have lessons from this day as well. So it's been the whole 12 years I've had lessons with him. And I was taught in school as well. So I had lessons in school, lessons outside of school. So I was kind of surrounded by it all the time, like 24/7, always playing. And I practiced a lot, and I did a few performances, like mini pieces in my primary school. Do you know primary school? So like the first school you go to. So I did a few performances in there, and I got to about age 8, so 2 years into playing the piano, and I said no, and I just completely stopped, and I didn't like it anymore. Kids being kids, I just didn't like it anymore, completely. And I didn't play piano for about, I want to say, 5 years. I didn't have any lessons. I didn't play. I got rid of the piano. I wasn't interested at all. And I got to about age 12, maybe 13, and then I started teaching myself.
Yeah.
So I started teaching myself for about 4 or 5 years, and I got into awful habits. So like looking at YouTube and things like that, and how to teach all the tutorials you get on YouTube, stuff like that. But I started to kind of find my way back into playing, and I found a love for it again, sort of thing. And then I did my exams in school and did music in my exams, and now I'm here, I guess, and I study full-time music. So I've kind of done a big circle, if you know what I mean. I started loving it, stopped it for a few years, and then now I'm back to it. So yeah, I think I did that on my own though. So obviously I wouldn't say I was forced into lessons as a child, but I was definitely not interested in doing them as much as I am now. So I've kind of come back to it, but actually like doing it now. Where I was when I was a child, I wasn't as interested. So I think that's probably the best way to describe it, I think. So, yeah.
So I think that it's a huge step after the 5 year, you know. What I think, so what was your goal when you returned to the music after the 5 years? What did you think about the return? You said, you know, 5 years is a very long time. And why did you return?
I think I got into, so after primary school you go into secondary school when you turn, I think,
Yeah.
11 or 12, and obviously that's when I started to have like the general music lessons, and I was surrounded by a lot of like music all the time, so classical music and pop music, things like that, and I just started to hear it a bit more. And as I got older I was like, oh, I really like this. And watching people as well, watching pianists play on things like YouTube, just
Yeah.
out of watch things like that. So I think I more or less got inspired by watching people, and thinking, oh, I want to sound as good as them, sort of thing. So that was what got me back into it. It was just being surrounded by it in school, and yeah, and wanting to improve and get back to where I was when I was a child, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. So, by the way, this tutorial thing, I think maybe, you know, if you look Liszt's music or Chopin's music, that kind of music, you know, it's hard. It's harder to learn the music with tutorials. It's really more, you know, easier with the notes. So I really can't understand the people who are learning these pieces from the tutorial. I mean, it's really hard. How can you do it? I really can't understand the tutorial musicians. I really don't know.
Like when you're reading sheet music, it's like reading words on a book, but when you're reading tutorial on YouTube, it's like reading words but in a different language, sort of thing. You have to look at it bit by bit, you have to pause it, you go back, and that's how I was for like 3 or 4 years. That's how I was learning, and obviously I got the bad habits, and then I was like, I have to teach myself to read sheet music again. So that's what I did, and it is so much easier when you learn sheet music. You can just, not, I say play anything, but you can play anything. You can, read it step by step, and it just makes a lot more sense when you can read sheet music. So I'm very glad that I took that step and didn't rely on the tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah, I I agree with you. I mean, no, it's like writing a poem or a novel. When you read a novel, you can just write it from the paper. But in tutorial, it's like someone's telling the novel to you, and you're just hearing. And okay, so what's next? Okay. By the way, what was I wrote there? Oh, it was wrong. Okay, tell me again. It's like this. It's really hard, but in the first years or the months of playing the piano, it's easier to learn in tutorial because you don't know how to read sheet music. You don't have any techniques about the piano, so you are seeing the notes and you can
Yeah.
play it. It's okay. I really hate to give this example, but the Frellies or Moonlight Sonata, the Moonlight Sonata is in C sharp minor. You cannot read the music. It's hard. It has triples or the triplets or the C sharp minor. So you look and okay, this is a slow piece, and I can play it from the tutorial. But when you get older and older, and when you're getting more mature about the music, you think like, okay, this is not the goal of Beethoven's writing this. He did not write for me because I'm a beginner and I shouldn't play it for now. Because you don't understand what Beethoven wrote there. You're just looking the notes. And I think pressing the notes is not making music.
Yeah. No, I get that. And when you're looking at the tutorials online, you don't see dynamics, you don't see like you know, you can't see what makes up the chord. You just play what you see,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So I don't think you can properly play the piece from a video. You have to obviously read it and see the you know, tempo markings and dynamic markings, and you know, all the different things that are written on a score. You can't see that just from looking at, you know, the notes on a screen on YouTube. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Okay. So let's talk about more of you. So, you know, the pandemic era is like the worst of our world. You know, we were in Turkey, and our country and your country is so much, has so much difference about this pandemic era thing. Jem said it was a short era for the UK, but it was a really long era for the Turkey, because we couldn't go outside for like 1.5 years. We couldn't see our friends, musicians couldn't have go to their concert. The listeners couldn't go to listen them in orchestras in Turkey. You know, of course the rehearsals cancelled, the concerts cancelled, and it was like an era like 1.5 year. So how was the situation in UK? What did you do in the pandemic era? How did you improve yourself? And can you say the sentence that I spent a lot of time with my instruments, so my bond with instrument and me is more mature now?
Yeah, so I think it feels like so long ago that the pandemic happened, because everything's back to normal now here in the UK. But obviously, when it first hit, no one really knew anything. No one really knew what was going on, what even happened. But as far as the UK was concerned, everything shut. So everything was cancelled as well. All the shops shut, apart from, you know, where you get food and things like that. So everything shut, and universities closed as well. So anyone that was in university, they had to go back home. All the lessons were online. All the classes were on laptops online, which obviously for music students is not good at all, because you can't perform together, and over your phone or your laptop, you've got internet issues. You can't hear each other. You can't,
Yeah,
you know, like that. So it's not the same whatsoever. And obviously, I wasn't at university when the pandemic happened, but where I was, all my exams were cancelled. So we had this thing called predicted grades. So they basically looked at how we were working throughout the year, and that's the grades we were given at the end of the year. So we didn't do any exams. So we, you know, we studied so much, and then everything was just cancelled. So we all got given our grades, and we didn't actually do the exams to prove to them that we could, you know, get better grades, which was really frustrating. And obviously, a lot of people failed when they could have passed,
yeah,
but we didn't have the opportunity to do the exams. And obviously, for music as well, when I did my music exams, it was all like we didn't get to perform. They gave us grades on nothing, basically.
yeah,
So we didn't get to, gave us grades on how we are as musicians, which was really frustrating, because how can you give us a grade if you haven't actually seen us play? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah. I
that
understand.
was frustrating. But with regards to learning instruments and piano and things like that, I did, you know, spend a lot more time practicing, because what else? I couldn't do anything. We couldn't leave the house, so you know, piano's indoors, and I played a lot of piano. I did it with the window open so my neighbours could hear, and you know, things like
Yeah,
that. I think it was a lot of you know, isolating with yourself 100% of the time, and I think for a lot of people that wasn't a very good thing. So you know, a lot of people became unhappy, and you know, they felt very down and isolated. So I think having an instrument during the pandemic definitely helped, because you can, you know, put your time into something else and practice and learn. And I did learn a lot. I did, you know, progress, and I bought a flute, and I learnt the flute during the pandemic as well.
yeah,
So if the pandemic didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have learned a new instrument. So I think it was good and it was bad at the same time. So yeah, I definitely did spend a lot more time practicing and playing the piano and learning a lot more things. And yeah.
So, how is your flute journey?
So I actually played today. I played a bit of jazz flute this morning with my like band. Well, I say band. It's kind of my course comes together and we do different songs and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I understand.
Jazz flute is very different to classical flute. When I first started playing the flute, I was actually self-taught, so I taught myself how to play it. I taught myself where all the keys are. So I haven't actually had a teacher for the
By the
flute.
way, it's a different instrument.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. Because the orchestra we have piccolo or the regular flutes or the bass flute, but I didn't heard of any jazz flute.
Well, I mean, it's as in like it's the same instrument, but a different style, a different way
Uh,
of playing. So
yeah, I
like
understand.
it's a lot. I don't know how to describe it. It's just it's quicker and the notes are it's more chromatic. So
Yeah,
it's just
yes, of course.
it's very different to like playing uh, what I've done. I did a lot of when I first started playing the flute. I did a lot of like Mozart because he wrote a lot for the flute. There's a lot of
Yeah,
flute material out there I didn't realize. Like his flute concertos, they're very very difficult. But I'm definitely not at a piano, so I wouldn't say I'm as good at the flute as I am piano because obviously I've been playing for a shorter amount of time. Um, but it's a second instrument definitely.
yeah, I understand. So, did you know that Chopin wrote a piece for the flute?
I think I did. I think I do. Yeah, I don't know if I've heard it, but I have.
Is
I wrote a piece for the flute. Yeah.
So Chopin wrote variations for the flute. By the way, of course, it includes a piano in
Yeah.
the second part of it. So it's okay. So it's like a piano sonata with a flute, like a piano sonata with cello.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I really don't know why, but Chopin does not love, the variations uh, kind. But I don't know. He wrote variations of the Mozart theme, Lacrime della Mano, I think. It was Opus 2. And Robert Schumann wrote a sentence about it in his paper. He said, "Hats off, ladies and gentlemen, for this incredible genius of music." Then Chopin did absolutely nothing, because he hates Robert Schumann's music, but it's a different topic. So Chopin wrote, I think, three variations for the music. It's Opus 2 Mozart's, and it's a flute variations. And I think flute variations, two piano concertos, Polish songs, cello sonata, and trio. That was all Chopin's pieces for another instruments, I think.
Oh, okay. I might have to try and play them.
I I I don't know if they're hard or not for the flute, but they're beautiful. You can listen and trying to play them. It's Chopin, of course. It's beautiful.
Of course, yeah, of course it is. I might have to have a look then, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say my flute playing skills are amazing, but they're okay. I can play decent.
Okay, that's amazing though. So, but your major is piano, and the flute journey begins later of your lifetime. So, I don't know. It's really good, by the way, to have a multi instruments. I really wish to play violin or cello, but I'm just playing the piano and a little bit of guitar, a classical guitar. Maybe I really suck, but I am trying to learn it. Okay.
no, that's good. It's good to learn. It's good to learn more than one instrument, not to like forget about the piano, but it's good to learn more than one instrument because then you can, understand how they all link together and how they all work together. And I learn a lot more about the piano as well when I learn the flute. I think, oh, these two things, they link together. And then I actually bought a saxophone recently as well, so I'm trying to teach my saxophone as well, which is going really slow, but
Okay.
I might have it on the way.
Yeah, of course. That's an improvement too, It can be slow, but, you know, we didn't born as a musician, so we have to learn it slowly, maybe.
Yeah.
But I can't really understand the Asian kids about the music. I mean, why are they so good about it? The Asian pianist is like playing extremely hard pieces at like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I really can't understand. What do you think about them?
They're very dedicated. That's the main thing. I think they practice so much. Like, there's this whole like, oh, 40 hours a day, but it is like their life. Do you know what I mean? And I think I actually saw I went to a concert not too recently, like a local orchestra, and they played. There was a Asian pianist. His name was Julian Chen, I think, and he was just brilliant. Like he walks on.
Wait a minute. Who was it you said?
Julian Chen or Chan, I think.
Oh, I know him. He's my friend.
Oh, really?
Yes, I. Oh, okay, okay. I invited him to my program, and he said, "I'm sorry, but I have a concert to. I will play Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto tomorrow, so I cannot
Oh,
attend."
oh
So I
wow.
said, "You play Rachmaninoff's concertos at this age? He's younger than me, I
Yeah.
think."
I don't know how old he is actually. I did get a like a program, but I didn't see how old he was, but he did look quite young. But when he came on the stage, he looked really nervous. But then when they sit down and play, it's like I don't understand how they memorize all of it as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, he was amazing, and you can tell that there's been so many hours and you know so much study and hours that have gone into learning the pieces. So yeah,
Of
it
course.
is really amazing to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm following him at Instagram, so we are talking like not that much, but sometimes we message ourselves. Mostly, I am messaging him because he's a quite busy
Hmm.
person. He's going to another country to another country every day. He's going to the concerts, and his Instagram page has a lot of performance videos. He's playing Scriabin's piano sonatas. The Rachmaninoff's piano sonatas, and these pieces are not easy. It takes months to learn it. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes they play with notes in the concert. They take the notes and what is this? Okay, so Rachmaninoff concerto. Okay, that's fine. He sits down and put the music, sheet music, and a person next to them is scrolling the pages, and he's just playing like nothing. It's like an etude maybe or a scale. He's just reading and playing, and I barely read music as that complex. I don't know. He's just amazing.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think a lot of that comes from listening so much. So if they were to be given, Rachmaninoff's piano concerto, and they would have the sheet music in front of them for their concerts, I think even if they hadn't, well, they obviously have practiced them, but even if they haven't practiced them as much as say other pieces, I think they've listened to them over and over and over again, so they know, oh, this bar's done. I know exactly what's coming next, like that sort of thing. Even if they're not looking at the sheet music, they remember it by ear. So, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's very impressive.
he just know, right? He just know what to play.
Yeah,
Uh, he doesn't have to look at the music because he knew. what he will going to play.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's really not. You know, I read some book about Beethoven. It's a Turkish book wrote by Aydın Büke. So he wrote a book about Beethoven. He was saying that, okay, so when the third piano concerto was composed, you know, this concerto in C minor, it's really passionate piece for the piano. It's really hard. So it has a cadence for the piano, of course. So Beethoven did not complete the cadence when he was premiering that piece. So, by the way, this story is true with the letters. So Beethoven just improvised the cadence there, and he wrote another cadence later. But it's not easy. You know, you cannot improvise like nothing. It's a cadence. You have to show virtuosic techniques. You have to keep going the melody. You have to keep going to the atmosphere of the music. And he was just doing like, okay, I can do it. It's easy, and he's playing. And I really don't think that these kind of people is special. You know, they are dead now, and there will be no Beethoven after that. There will not be Chopin or Liszt. They just make the music more and more mature. I mean, you know, they are the founders of the classical music. They are the leaders.
Yeah.
They found it. They made the melodies, theories, and they're dead, and we are playing them music.
Yeah, it's very hard to recreate or even, you know, play anything that they wrote. You know, it's just you're never going to get the same thing because it's the whole argument of can you write original music and, you know, things like that, because a lot of it's already been written by all of these composers. And so yeah, you can never recreate things like that. And you know, obviously you said they founded everything and we're just following it. So yeah, it's very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to you. By the way, how am I going? I am really bad at English, right?
No,
Okay, confess it.
it's fine. It's really good. I'm not lying.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, so I am feeling this all of my live streams. So I felt in Jam's live stream too. I think that I will going to mess it up, or you know, I will going to say something wrong. But when you talk with the people, with you or with Jam, you just you just can be relaxed because you know you're talking about music, and music is a universal language.
Yeah.
So when I'm saying something, you can understand. You are saying something, I can understand.
Yeah.
So I actually have to thank you for your kind English to me. You know, you are not speaking so fast for me. So thank you.
That's okay. That's okay. Your English is really good. Like I'm not lying. It is very good.
Thank you.
I can understand. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you can understand me as well.
But I think I killed the English grammar. I think, but that's okay. You can understand me. So
No, I can
that's not a big
understand.
deal.
It's absolutely fine.
Okay. So let's go back to you. Okay. So let's talk about the concerts you attended to. Maybe it's like your concert, or you know, you're a participate of the concert, or maybe you just listen it. You know, you just said Yulen Chan concert. You said it was amazing. So what was your concerts that really affected you?
I went to so there's a local theatre in Northampton, the town I live in, and every so often do you know the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra? They're based in London. They're a London-based
I know.
yeah, London-based orchestra, and they often come to Northampton and they do
Yeah.
programs and shows here, and they do a lot of classical, a lot of romantic era type shows, but they did a different one recently, and they did film music, so things like they did a lot of Star Wars. They did all the film scores, so like John Williams and Hans Zimmer and stuff like that. So they did Star Wars, and they played Interstellar, and things like that. But there was, do you know the film Schindler's List?
Oh, of course
Yeah.
I do know.
So they played the main theme from Schindler's List. Obviously, one of the most emotional pieces there is out there for film. And they obviously had there's a solo violin in that piece. And yeah, the violinist that played, he's the leader of the orchestra, but he obviously stood up and did his solo violin. And it was amazing because the whole place was just silent, and all you could hear was him playing, and there was nothing else. And obviously you can tell when you're looking at him that he's not just playing what he knows is the piece, but he's playing like from the film, if that makes sense. So he's playing the emotion from the film. You can really, it felt like you were in the theatre watching the film when you listen to it, really. And it was really emotional. There was people crying, so that's probably the most emotional, or the best kind of performance I've seen recently, in a concert. And it makes everyone stop when they hear it. So
So in the comment section, someone write this concert. He or she is your friend?
It was such an amazing violin solo. It truly brought me to my. I don't know. I know him, but I don't know if he was there. I don't think he was there. I have no idea.
So you guys were in the same concert, but you did not know.
I don't think he was there. I know him, but I don't know if he was there.
Yeah,
he might be joking. I don't know.
Okay. So which concert did you attend as a participant? Did I pronounce it right? What was the concerts that you have a job to play them? Maybe you can be in the orchestra, or you just gave a rehearsal or some kind of like that.
So I haven't actually performed or rehearsed with an orchestra before. It is one of my goals to play with an orchestra. Maybe not piano just yet, but even with flute. Obviously there's local orchestras here that I absolutely love to play with, because playing solo is one thing, performing, that's nerve-wracking, but I feel like when you're in an orchestra and you're playing with orchestras, it make it so much more enjoyable, if that makes sense. So I haven't actually performed with an orchestra yet, or and things like that, but it's definitely something that I want to get doing. So yeah.
So you think the music is more fun when you play with someone else, right?
It depends on what you're playing. I think if you were to be, obviously with Chopin or a solo from Schumann's solo piano things,
of course.
Yeah, it's I don't know, because performing on your own is something else. You're the only one doing it. You can put all the emotion you want into it. You can do anything you want. You're the only one doing it. But I think playing with other people as well is just as good. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like that too. But so I have a project. I haven't told the people yet, but I really want to talk about it with you. So I have a project that me and my violinist friend we're going to play a Chopin's piece. It's not written for the violin and piano. It's just written for the piano. It's a Polish song. Do you know Chopin's Polish songs?
I'm not familiar with them.
Okay.
I'm not as familiar with them now.
Yeah, okay. So the second Polish song is the Wiosna. It means a spring. It's a really quite easy piece because the melody is so easy. It has not have virtuosic techniques. The left hand is much easier for the Chopin pieces. It's like a beginner piece.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Liszt wrote an arrangement to it, and it's like hard because when the list shows up, the chords, a big chords just got into the music. Another harmonies just got the music, and I said, okay, this piece looks cool, and maybe we can do it like a piano and violin piece. So I have a violinist friend, and we just, spent hours and hours to make an arrangement because it has no arrangements for the violin and piano in the world. It's really the first arrangement of this piece for violin and piano that we are arranging it. So we spent hours and hours to arrange it. We did a lot of practice for to sound good with violin and piano because it's an incredibly easy and incredibly how can I say this? Um, okay, so it's basic, but it's basic because it's romantic. You know, uh, we have to do it's like okay, give the left hand part to the piano and give the right hand part to the violin. We did not want it. We just want to create another music of the list arrangement. So we spent a lot of hours to the work, and we will be recording this piece uh, at Saturday, and we will be publish it next week, I
Oh,
think.
that sounds like it's
Yeah,
put a lot of work into it then, making a whole new arrangement, and I'm sure it sounds amazing.
yeah, it is because the violin part is not easy to arrange it because of course we can make it easier, just give to the piano the left hand part, give to the right violin to the right hand part, and but it's just not arrangement. It's
Hmm.
the same piece, but the melody in the violin and the um, left hand part in the piano. So yeah, we spent hours and hours to it, and I think this is important because this is the beauty of the music. You can make always a new type of music. You can arrange it, you can create a new music, you can compose it. Maybe you can play a piece with a different instrument. uh, I think it's beauty of the music. It has so many variations. It's not just standing there. It's always improving, improving, and improving.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And there's still pieces by Chopin and Schumann and Liszt and everything that people are still changing and they're arranging and a lot of people are changing it, and it might not be a good thing. Some people might think it would be a good thing, like why are you changing these pieces? But sometimes the arrangements and the alterations when they're playing can be beautiful. But yeah, no, it sounds like you put a lot of work into it. So I'm excited to hear it.
So I hope you will like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It may be, you have to respect to the composer though.
Hmm.
You can't just write, okay, we can create another music by this. Of course, you cannot do it. You have to respect the Chopin and Liszt. Okay, you can think like this. We're arranging an arrangement to a music. The music wrote by Chopin, Liszt arranged it, and we are going to arrange it.
Hmm.
It's like the second arrangement of the
Yeah.
music, so we have to be really be careful because the Liszt's arrangement is also a danger of the music because he changed the music, he changed the harmony, he changed the melody in in the end, in the coda part. So we have to be really be careful. We cannot make another danger of the music because we cannot change the melody, we cannot change the harmony of the music. So because who are we? I mean, with comparing to Chopin and Liszt, we cannot make another melody because we cannot dare to it. You know, we are just the basic musicians, so we have to be really careful. So that's why we spent hours and hours for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You do have to be careful. You don't want to, because when you start changing too much, it's then your own piece, and it's not, you know, it's not a Chopin arrangement, or it's not a Liszt arrangement, because obviously Liszt changed Chopin's, and now you're changing Liszt's. It's like, yeah, you do have to be careful, and you've got to remember that, you know, it does have to have the original things in it, and, you know, stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's what I'm trying to tell you about. So I, okay, so I really struggled to tell you guys my story, but I'm really glad that you understand.
That's okay.
Okay, so my last question is, what are your advices to the new pianists? So, I mean, what are the topics or by you? I really think that every musician said there. Oh, I wish I did this more differently in the past. You know. So, what are your advices to the new musicians?
Wow, that's a really good question. That's a very good question. Um, wow. um, I don't think I don't think I'm one to give advice about piano. But I would say, wow. Um, Make sure you learn sheet music. don't don't do tutorials, and don't, you know, slip into the bad habit. You know, read as much sheet music as you can, sight read as much music as you can, because I think sight reading, if you when you learn, you know, when you learn how to sight read, and not just, you know, learning a piece bit by bit and looking at it on the sheet music, and, you know, oh, this is A major chord, now I'm going into this with a passing note. Not just that, you need to know how to, if someone gives you a random piece you've never seen before, it's so useful to know how to play it,
Yeah,
not just think, not spend 5 hours on it and think, oh yeah, I'll come back to you tomorrow with it. You need to play it then and there. So I think being skilled in sight reading is definitely a big advice that I probably would have appreciated someone told me that when I was younger.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think if someone told me when I was younger, make sure you learn sheet music and sight read a lot, I probably would have progressed a lot quicker. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't have any regrets on how I learned, but I'm thankful that I now can read sheet music and I can sight read. So it does take a lot of time, and it's a lot of effort. You know, it's very frustrating when you're sight reading and you're reading sheet music and things like that. But it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
that's what I'd say.
Maybe we can advise to the new musicians like don't give up.
Yeah.
You know, when you have struggling about the piece or the music theory, some kind of like that.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a very frustrating thing. It's very it's a rewarding thing being able to play an instrument and being able to practice, but it can be very frustrating. I know there's been lots of times where I've thought, is this really what I want to do? Is this really right for me? But when you then, you know, go to concerts and you watch people like I did, and you watch people sit right in front of you, play the pieces that you want to play, it makes you more motivated to carry on with it. So yeah, definitely don't give up. That's a very good piece of advice as well. Yeah.
Did you ever think to give up in your music career?
Well, I did at one point. Obviously, when I was younger, I stopped playing for like 5 years. I didn't like it. I didn't.
Yes.
um, I didn't know if that was just me being a child, and not wanting to play. But maybe now I'm more, what's the word? I'm more understanding of what I want to do. Um, there is obviously still moments when I'm practicing, you know, really hard pieces, and I think, should I just not play this? Should I give up? Should I try something else? Try something easier? But it is all worth it. It is really all worth it when you say that you've put in all your effort into a piece, and you can finally, you know, perform it to people and play it to people, it's a very rewarding thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand. But it does not count, when you were a kid
Yeah.
when you give up. So it's not called give up, I think, because you don't know anything about music. My question includes like you are getting into it and just like, okay, I cannot do it. I have no talents for it and I give up.
I think
But
I think I think at some point everybody feels that way, don't they? So, you know, just don't just don't give up.
yeah, of course, because
I stopped playing, even like during the pandemic, for instance, there was obviously points where I didn't play for months and months and months because I
yeah,
thought, oh, no one's watching me, no one's listening to me anyway, so why should I bother, sort of thing. I wasn't posting it anywhere. So I guess during the pandemic, I kind of thought that I was only playing for fun, really. So you just got to remember what you're doing it for, I guess, and what you really want to achieve. So
of course.
yeah.
Yeah, you're really right about it. But don't think like that. I am a new follower for you. So if no, you have at least one follower and you have at least one listener.
hmm No, yeah, I definitely know more now. Um, Obviously, as I get older, I get more motivated every day. I get more motivated to practice more and more, and so yeah, I'm definitely not giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. It's really important to keep going, going and going. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Remy. Okay. I hope you liked my conversation. I think it's really challenging. I mean, you can say, okay, what is he saying? But I hope you liked my conversation, and I hope you liked my, program or everything.
I've really enjoyed discussing all of the different composers and different pieces, and also about arranging as well. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. Um, and no, don't worry about the English. I understand everything, so it's fine.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, it was important to you enjoyed my conversation, my program, and I think when I started doing these programs, I it was like 2 years ago, and I have another friends now. I made 62 programs, included this one. Yeah, so you can think like I have 62 friends, just with the programs. So, and again, I will say, I really want to keep my conversation with you, keep going, because you're a really cool person, a really cool pianist, and like I said, do not remember you're pretty. Okay.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, and I will carry on looking at your page as well. And I did actually look at your the birthday post for Chopin. I looked at that before we went on our live as well, and I was like, oh, it's really, really good. So,
Yeah,
I will. Well, I need to see more of the playing.
I thank you so much, and maybe sometimes I can send you my practice videos in WhatsApp or whatever, and you can send yours to me as well. I would really love to see your playing. How's your day going? How's your life going? How's your practice going? I really loved your friendship, and I want to keep going on our friendship later.
Of course, and
Okay.
I'll teach you more English as well.
Yes, that's the most important part.
Make it even better.
Okay, thank you so much, Rimini, for joining my program. So, do you have anything more to say?
Practice every day.
40 hours a day.
Everybody who's watching who plays an instrument, practice every single day. That's the only thing I have to say, really.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, thank you so much again for joining my
Thank you.
program.
Thank you.
Okay, See you then.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. See you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming and watching us, and endure my bad English. I really suck. I know. I really suck. But that's okay. We will going to learn English as well. So I don't have perfect English because I'm not native, of course, but I'm trying to learn it. Okay. So, whoever you're watching this, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed with talking with the Rimini. She was a really cool person. She's a really cute friend. Of course, she's a really great pianist. Yeah. Okay, it's not. Okay, when I see your comments, I'm really going to be happy, but I know it's not. In Turkey, we have tourists come to touristy places, and they are talking Turkish sometimes, and we can understand them as well. But we laugh at them, because they are trying to learn Turkish. They are struggling with it. They just talking crazy sentences, like they are, they are changing the order of the words. So I think my English is like that too. I'm killing the grammar. I killed the rules of English in this program, but that's okay. You understand me, whatever. But thank you so much for your comments. Allah Goli, if I pronounce it right. Thank you. Okay, everyone. See you next week in Young Talents, I guess. There will be more programs in interviews with masters and music conversations, but I have to keep going more of this young talent because my program started like this as well in Turkish. I made 25 programs in young talents, which is called in Turkish Genç Yetenekler. Then I started the interviews with masters. Okay, see you next week. Take care, and thank you so much.